is not a lawyer in this room, I would bet $1,000, has ever tried a case that didn't use an analogy. We all do it. It's the way we talk. We all pay attention outside for the next 2 days. How many times people say, it's like? We all use analogies. Here's what happened to me that's the difference between just, okay, use an analogy, and using it as a specific trial strategy, understanding why it's such a powerful tool that gets neglected. Rather than just intuitively letting it slip off your tongue, you design analogies for needs during a trial. And where it came from is this. I read a book, and I love reading books about how the mind works or how people are persuaded that aren't lawyers, because it's a fascinating different perspective. And I read a book that was extraordinarily boring to me, and I do not recommend it at all. It was written by a guy from Harvard who was and I wrote it down because I can't even ever remember all of his credentials. He was a cognitive neuroscience and language specialist. And it was called the stuff of thought. Or it may have been the stuff of the mind, one or the other. But it was in Barnes & Noble, and I started looking. I said, wow, this is how the mind works by this brilliant guy from Harvard. This has got to be great. It was like this thick, and it was really written for graduate level people studying this stuff. And I mean, it was just painful, but I kept plowing through. However, there was one little place in it that I read something on. This is interesting. And so when I got to the end, I went back to it. And I started reading it. And here, this is just in the simplest terms what he said. The way that people understand concepts for which they don't have any personal experience, or are persuaded in things in which they don't really have an experience for which they have a framework to think, is through analogy. And he takes it all the way back to caveman days in a deep, long explanation of how it all works. But just trust me, when you read it and he's got all the footnotes, that really is how minds understand concepts for which they don't have an experience. And he says the way they do it is point A, I don't understand this, no experience, I can't get it. I mean, I can hear you, it's not that I can't get your words, I can't fathom it at a moving level that we need in a courtroom. But how do I get there? If it's like this, and I've had an experience with this, you go, aha, I get it. And it's that simple. That's why we walk around using analogies all the time intuitively, because we're hardwired to do it that way. So I came out of that and I thought, okay, what better tool for me in a courtroom? Because that's what we do. And here's the added benefit. Think about this. If the way that they're getting the concept through an analogy is you're tapping into a personal experience they have, what are you doing? You're doing what we're forbidden from doing. Golden rule. It's golden rule. But there's nothing wrong with it. The other side's going to do it too. Heck, the judge may do it. So there's nothing improper, but the underlying science will bring in a personal experience that they now can relate to your client's experience in the point you're trying to make. So I went, my God, this is really earth-shattering. So I thought, how do I use it actually by design as a preset trial strategy? And here's how it started with me. And I want to tell you, the School of Hard Knocks, when I started doing it, I wasted more time with analogies because I would just jump right into the analogy I wanted for the idea I wanted. And you will find you'll get a good one you love, and then you think that's flawed for this reason, or flawed for that reason. And I wasted time. And I learned the starting point is to define extraordinarily precisely what it is you want an analogy for. Not loosely, precisely. And it'll save you a ton of time. And once you get it precise, you start, I'm going to give you an example so that you'll see what I'm talking about.